So I also wrote myself another manifesto about how to make sure that the arts are both democratic and also allied with principles of freedom. This seems to me terribly important. So I drew up a little 10-pointer. I will put it on my blog or tweeting. I can't put it on tweet, but I will put it on my blog and link to it, so you don't have to write it down. I have put it up there before. So here are my little 10 points about how I think for the arts to work for everybody, we have to constantly keep in mind these notions of democracy and freedom. So when involved in art, the young people that we work with, any of the arts, they should have a sense of ownership and control in the process of making and doing. So it's never sufficient simply for us to dictate what to do. The pupils, or whoever they are, our client group, our customers, whatever they are, I don't use those words myself, but they should have a sense that they own and control at least some, ideally most, of what it is they're doing, what it is they're making. They should also have a sense, and I'll return to this as well, of possibility, transformation and change. These, for me, are the crucial touchstones about why we do art. It's about possibility, transformation and change. And if the artistic process involved is too closed-ended and too determined, then we don't enable this crucial aspect of possibility, transformation and change. So that we shouldn't be engaged in stuff that has purely predictable, purely pre-planned outcomes, but there should be unexpected outcomes and that all kinds of content are possible. It's very important, it seems to me, that young people engaged in the art should feel safe. They should feel safe in the process, that no matter what they do, they won't be exposed to ridicule, relentless assessment, and you can guess where that comes from, relentless assessment and testing, and the fear of being wrong or making errors. This is absolutely crucial, that the moment you impose those external, particularly if they're high stakes determinants of saying, this is good, this is bad, this is 21%, this is 43%, you've failed, you've passed. If you make those very much at the forefront, the arts won't do the work that they're supposed to do, which is to enable you to explore possibility, transformation and change. Fourth, that the feeling that the pupil should have, or the students, whoever it is, young people should feel the process can be either individual or cooperative or both, that it isn't either one thing or another, and that also you are entitled to be accompanied by supportive and cooperative commentary, which is safeguarded and encouraged by teachers. This always, whenever I do poetry workshops, that all this aspect, we've been ridiculed on our side, talking of ridicule, we've been ridiculed on our side of telling pupils or students all the time that whatever they do is brilliant and wonderful. But what is the alternative? The alternative quite often is to be saying, well, you're not good enough. In my experience, young people, many, many young people, perhaps the majority of them, that one of their life experiences, whether at home or at school, for whatever reason, is to be told constantly they are not good enough. After all, we have an exam and testing system that fails always at least 60% of any group. It will fail, the test is failed by 60%. They draw that up before everybody sits the test. Yes, if you talk about, whether you're talking about GCSEs, EBACs, or the phonics screening check, it doesn't matter. They have a 60% fail rate. So if you think of the way in which that is reinforced, we should be very cautious to not incorporate that, not draw that in to when we're doing the arts. My fifth point, feel that there's a flow between the arts, that they're not boxed off from each other according to old and fictitious boundaries and hierarchies. I come from an era where there was a lot to do. We were, if you like, inculcated with the idea there's highbrow, there's lowbrow, there's middle brow, there's, I don't know, halfway between middle, but maybe that's a mezzanine brow, I don't know. But we were constantly told, well, you can't do that, that's not a poem, that's a song, or you can't do the song because you're doing a play, you're not doing a musical. I think it's all rubbish, any of that stuff, I really do. That particularly with young people, we have to be ready and available and thinking about all the different ways in which we can use the different art forms informing each other. My sixth point, feel that the young people should feel they're working in an environment that welcomes their home cultures, backgrounds, heritages and languages into the process, with no superimposed hierarchy, that somehow or other, when they come into the artistic process, whatever it is, they're not supposed to leave themselves behind as if it's possible, but somehow or other the stuff they've got is not worthy or not valuable. We have to find ways in which they can incorporate that, whether that's regional, whether that's so-called ethnic, it's not a word I use, whatever it is, whether they're boys, whether they're girls, it doesn't matter what abilities, what bodily abilities or so-called disabilities, that any of this, because we must have at the core of the arts, this is about every single human being, no matter what state in their lives or what state they are deemed by authority. 7, feel that what they're making or doing matters, that the activity has status within whatever institution they're in, that it has status, that when they do it, it will go up on walls or it'll go up on screens or it'll be shared. You never know, as a young person, think back to all of you, you're all adults in the room, think back to when you were at school and you did stuff that went into an exercise book, say, and then it went to the teacher and then it came back, and that was its total outcome. And the only thing that you knew was some red marks on the page with either some spurious thing called a grade or that it had some squiggles on saying something about how you'd spelt something wrong, or that, I don't know, you hadn't got your perspective right or something like that. This is not how you find out whether the arts are valid or not. You only find out how the arts are valid when it meets an audience, not an audience who's marking it, but an audience who will experience feelings and may share with you those feelings. That's when you know that the arts are doing their work. So we have to give that. We have to make sure that we give audience to the young people we work with. That the students or young people should be encouraged and enabled to find audiences, I'm repeating myself, for their work, whether in the same school, other schools, or in communities beyond the school gate. One of the most exciting developments I've seen of late is various kinds of blogging, quad blogging and all sorts of things, where schools and institutions are linking up around the world and the students are talking to each other saying, hey, look at my poem, look at my artwork, look at what we did in school today, and there's a short clip, a video clip of something, and they're sharing it. So there is in fact a website called Quad Blogging, and the people who run it say that one of the reasons why it's important to be calling it quad blogging, because if 2 schools blog to each other, it tends to dry up. If you have more than 4, it's too many, and 4 seems to be an optimum number. This is according to the way they've done trial and error. So the site is called Quad Blogging, and it enables you to hook up with schools all over the world, and you might do nothing more than just share a monthly, look what we've been doing. And it might be a play, or it might be some pottery that you've done, or a dance, or a poem, or a horror story, it doesn't matter. But it enables you to talk to people in other languages or other cultures or whatever all around the world. That way the arts do their work, yeah? My 9th point, be exposed to the best practice, and the best practitioners possible are available in order to see and feel other possibilities. Sometimes the likes of us, again, are ridiculed because, we're not about quality. We're not interested in supposedly not interested in showing students the finest dancers or the finest potters or the finest art and the rest of it. I don't know where this accusation came from, that somehow or other we were deliberately depriving children of reading Shakespeare or something like that. Anybody I've ever met, they've busted their guts to introduce things to students of all ages, all cultures. I don't know where that came from, but just to assert the fact that yes, of course, by showing the best stuff, by showing a Rembrandt or a Picasso or a poem by Wilfred Owen. Oh, whoops, I shouldn't have mentioned Wilfred Owen, should I? You bet I will. So by showing students this stuff, we say, look what they did, look what they did. We're not asking them to worship it. I usually say, well, you could do that. Yeah? That's usually what I say, because it's art. Art is for everybody. It's not these special, they are special if they manage to communicate to lots of people, and lots of people are moved and excited by it, yes. But the actual making and doing, the great artists, they always say, Picasso, he'd pick up a bicycle saddle and handlebars, and he said, oh, look, it's a bull. And he's got the saddle, and he's got there, and he said, look, it's a bull's head. He showed people how you can just find stuff and make other stuff. And, sometimes kids look at their stuff and they go, well, yeah, I could do that. And I always think, yes. Not that it's an insult to Picasso, but yes, exactly. And then finally, I've said, be encouraged to think of the arts as including or involving investigation, invention, discovery, play, and cooperation. These are my tag words, if you like: investigation, invention, discovery, play and cooperation, that these happen both within the individual making and doing, but also in the talk, commentary and critical dialogue that goes on around the activity itself. Quite often we forget to stick up for that stuff. When you sit down with young people and they make and do in the arts, just listen to them gabbing. This is vital, because in the gabbing, whatever you want to call it, I don't mean to insult it, but in the talk, they are discovering stuff about themselves and about the world and about the thing they're doing. This is the change, transformation and possibility that I'm talking about. If you simply sit kids down and yak at them, the amount of change and possibility of change and transformation is very little. Some of it will go on, but it's very little. If they become engaged in making and doing and pursuing through to the end, and it has these other elements of audience and possibility of looking at the great stuff and all these other possibilities, you will hear the change. You will hear it take place. You know, many of you here will know, you know, I've sat in poetry workshops where I've set something going, and suddenly people making all kinds of discoveries. I can hear them talking, ideally when I'm not intervening. I can hear them talking to each other with the people that they trust. So there we are. That is, if you like a manifesto. I will chuck it up on my blog again, and then link to it on Twitter and Facebook.